The day after the presidential elections last year, a Muslim boy in elementary school was told by other fellow students, whom he considered his friends, that he needs to go home because he is Muslim. Our political climate has changed so much in the past few years that it has affected everyone, especially marginalized communities. But we can see that the long-term effects are mostly those on children. A study shows that 80% of news coverage and media about Islam is negative. The Council on American Islamic Relations this year released a report for 2014-2016 entitled The Empowerment of Hate. It compiled all the information from all the other CAIR chapters around the nation. The report, even though Muslim hate crimes and anti-Muslim bias incidents have been happening for a very long time, the report shows that there was a 57% increase in anti-Muslim biased incidents in 2016 over 2015, and another 44% increase on anti-Muslim hate crimes for the same period. But we have not heard about it before because now the media is more concerned and shows us more in the media about these hate crimes and hate incidents, and that's why you've been hearing about it. The report also shows that there were special triggers of anti-Muslim bias incidents, such as the person's nationality and origin, which accounted for 35%, 16% if the victim wore a veil or hijab, yes, just like me, 8% because of their name, and 6% for place of worship. Now, with all that happening and with all the hate speech and everything going on, I do not see that those who hate Muslims hate us anymore. But I do see that with that hate, they've been empowered, and empowered to use it in various ways. But I'm an adult. I can analyze, I can research, and I have faith and hope for the future. But I have an adorable 9-year-old son. And I have lived with him and other children from the community throughout the campaign. When I've heard that one of the students told another student that his parents are going to elect one of the presidential candidates because he will kick out all the Muslims. And when other students were unable to go to school because of the fear that they had of being called names, or something could happen to them physically in the school hallways or on the streets. It was also heartbreaking for many parents, such as my husband and myself, when our children did not want to go to school the day after the presidential elections. The CAIR report this year had a segment on impact of Islamophobia in education institutions. And based on a research that was conducted by CAIR California, 55% of the Muslim students said that they were bullied in some way. There was also reports that there was discriminatory actions from teachers, staff, and administrations towards these Muslim students. Now that's a bigger problem. But on a positive note, and yes, my talk does have a few positive notes, some schools have already been denouncing, and they sent out statements and letters fighting hate speech, fighting intimidation, fighting discrimination, especially religious discrimination. Also, the US Department of Education has come up with a new website on religious discrimination, and it shows all the laws and policies to protect students. And it also has a new form for anyone who wants to send out a complaint regarding religious bullying. Now, throughout the elections, as I said, until now, I have listened and talked to so many children and so many parents about the impact of the negative perspective about Islam and how it's been impacting their daily lives and their future decisions. But to know more, I wanted to conduct a research or a study to hear them more, and we conducted it here in Washington State on children in the ages between 9 to 18. And the aim of the research was so many things, but the most important was measuring how the problematic climate has changed their daily lives. The daily lives which you're always living every day, how did that change them for them? And if there is any way that their future decisions has changed. So we interviewed out of over 60 children who wanted to be interviewed. We were only able to interview 42 individually. We asked them the same questions, and they were from 4 public school districts, 1 private school, and guess what? UW. Now, it was sad, but not a surprise, that 52% of the students said that they felt more concerned now about being targeted based on their religion at schools since the election. Most importantly, what happened was that it was revealed that many of them were subjected to some form of bullying due to religious background and faith, but they had never reported it to anyone. Whether because they didn't know that they should report it, or they didn't know who to go to, or even worse, they were so afraid of retaliation from the administration and students that they did not report it. One of the students said that he's in elementary school. One of his classmates told him, "Oh, by the way, you will never get to middle school because by then you will be kicked out." We also wanted to ask them about how they feel and their safety about going out and walking the streets and being in public again. Again, 61% said that they feel unsafe and more unsafe now after the elections in walking on the streets or going out or taking a bus. Some girls even confessed that they now have pepper spray in their backpack and their purses, and they made us promise that we do not tell the schools because it's against school policies, and we did. We never told the schools. But one of them said, while she was waiting at a bus stop, a group of teenagers called her out and said, "When are you leaving?" We also asked them if they fear now for their families more than ever, or even more before the elections and after the elections. And 64% said yes, especially if one of members of the family wears the veil or what they described as looks different. We also wanted to ask them if their confidence in declaring that they're Muslim or being associated to the Muslim community has changed. 11.9% said yes, it has. That is a big number because we see that no one should have to be fearful of who they are or who they believe in. Now, our findings so far, we found that language and interactions with students, our experience, have changed. And we found that even though as adults, we have the tools and we have the ideas of how to mute out negative media and negative hate speech, children don't have that capacity yet. They don't have those tools yet, even though we try to help them to have those tools. But as adults, we need to help them more. And one of the things that the students in the interviews told us was they feel that teachers and staff should be trained on what is hate speech against Muslims and what is religious discrimination. And they also feel that the parents need to also know what bullying is, and they need to have the tools to talk to their children about it and to be vigilant, to know if any of their children has been harassed or bullied or intimidated at school and what to do about it. As I said, children are unable to mute the negative comments, and due to the spike in hate speech in the public forums, when you open the news every day, 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock, 10 o'clock news, and it's always about hate and negative perceptions about Islam, that has had so much of an impact on children that we found how perceptive they are to everything around them, even though we don't think so. We think that they're playing around, that they're going to their activities, or going to school. You could never think how much they're taking inside and how much of that an impact on them. But we did ask them, what can be done to overcome the negative attitudes and help them and the children and their friends feel safer? All of them said social media and the new apps and the new tools should be used and must be used to increase awareness about Islam. Some of them even said that school curriculum should have more positive stories about Islam. And why not have Muslims portrayed positively, for a change, on the TV hit shows and box office movies? But most importantly, they said, a simple smile from everyone around them, from people around them, and a simple greeting, such as Happy Ramadan, for the holy month of Ramadan that started yesterday, would take us all a long way. Thank you, and Happy Ramadan.